Good morning, my name is Martin, and this is a tribe of the fox. And today I would like to talk about a little bit of folklore, werewolves. Yeah. So let's start with something that I usually don't do, and that's read a poem. Now, this poem about wolves, or better said, werewolves, is written by Dirkje. She initially wrote it in Dutch, but I liked it so much that I asked her to write it in English. And I think that worked out pretty well. So let's see. The growl grows stronger, crying in the night. Claws, strength, aggression in that shiny skin. Eyes glowing like fire. The last hour has struck. For those who silence others, the dirt drips from their wounds. Like a great tyrant, disappears into the night. So that was Derek's werewolf poem. It was inspired by Angerboda. Now, Angerboda is a being from Nordic mythology. We will talk about this later. But first, werewolves. Okay. Now, most people will know the werewolf from the Hollywood movies, in which a human being at full moon transforms into a wolf-like monster. And in the movies, um, these werewolves are actually physical werewolves. So the human body transforms into a wolf body with the skin and the bones and everything, and the shape of the bones. Okay, so let's see. Where can we find all of this in folklore? Because Hollywood made a slightly different thing out of it. Now, if we go back to Germanic times, we can already read there about werewolves. It's basically like a worldwide phenomenon, by the way. But the tribe of the fox speaks about northwestern, northern, European spirituality. So that's what we're focusing on. So, yeah, in the Icelandic sagas, for instance, you can already read about this in the Volsunga saga. You can already read about guys putting on a wolf skin and transforming into wolves. So here they first have to put a skin on their body, a wolf skin. We also know about warriors who were transforming, well, at least energetically, in animals by wearing a bear skin. So those are the well-known berserkers. Then you had the Ulfhetnar. And the Ulfhetnar, they were basically like berserkers, but they were wolf skins. And these warriors, they put themselves in a different state of mind. So energetically, they became wolves. And they were ferocious fighters. They didn't feel pain because they were in a different state of mind. And they fought actually very ferocious. That was the idea about berserkers with their bear skins, Ulfhetnar with their wolf skins. So that's a well-known phenomenon. Okay, then Christianity came. Was that the end of the werewolf? Of the guy transforming into a wolf? Well, no. We have seen in the Christian era, let's say in the witch trial era actually, so the 1500s, the 1600s, there are accounts of people being accused of being werewolves. So, and there's some nice accounts of this in this little booklet here. So this little booklet, Witte Wieven, Weerwolven en Waternekkers. So it's only available in Dutch, by the way. It's a book about all kinds of beings from folklore in the Netherlands. It is written by Abe van der Veen, also known as Abe storyteller. It's a really great book if you can read the Dutch language. It's not too expensive, but full of interesting information. So there are some interesting accounts. So let me read something for you. So we are talking here about the year 1595. So in the late 1500s. So in the town of Amersfoort, that's a bit in the middle of the country, there were witch trials, but also werewolf trials. So they are just, they go together. So there's this guy named Volker de Dirks, and his wife was basically executed because she was a witch, and he was, of course, extremely upset about this. And then he made a pact with the devil. So here we have this Christian influence. So in the Germanic times, of course, there was no devil. It was just a shamanic thing, changing into a wolf-like being. Not in Christian times, that was always about the devil. So he made a pact with the devil, and he didn't get a wolf skin. He actually got a black piece of clothing that he wore. So again, you have to wear something, obviously. And if he wore that, he could transform himself in a wolf or a cat. So obviously the guy had a choice. And then the devil made him do evil things. Christian influence again. You know, like biting cattle that was standing in the fields. So in the same year, 1595, there was also a werewolf being burned to death in the town of Arnhem. So Arnhem is that place known from Operation Market Garden. You know that movie, A Bridge Too Far? That's Arnhem. So there was this guy named Hans Spook, and well, he didn't have a wolf skin or a piece of clothing. He had just a little piece of cloth that made him change into a wolf. But there was another element in that story. He used some kind of ointment that he has to rub onto himself, like a bit of a flying ointment that witches also used. You know, witches, werewolves. In witch trials and werewolf trials, you often hear that they had this ointment. So that was probably like a mixture of, or ingredients were like belladonna, henbane, mandrake, hemlock. So I have to write that down because I'm not really into herbalism. That's more Dirk's territory, by the way. She knows a lot about this stuff. I don't. So I have to write it down. So yeah, and another aspect that we often find in these werewolf stories in Christian times is that if people found the skin that the guy used, the wolf skin, then they could burn the wolf skin, and that released the werewolf of werewolving, so to speak. So yeah. The interesting thing is that both in the Germanic and in the Christian era, people had to wear something. So that's already a ceremonial thing. If I journey, then I wear a black hoodie. Always the same black hoodie. That's a ritual. It brings you in a different state of mind. So that's how the wolf skin or other ceremonial clothing also worked for the guys who want to transform into a wolf-like being. So this is an energetic thing, of course, not a physical thing. It was an energetic thing. Maybe it is forming your astral body into a wolf-like shape or another animal. So yeah, then we enter the territory of shape-shifting. That's a technique that you can learn, how to shape-shift your astral body. I think people understood in those days how to do this. This knowledge is not so common anymore. Maybe it wasn't very common in those days either, I don't know. So yeah, But was it always for harmful purposes? No, because in Livonia, so that's the Baltic area, there were also werewolves, and we have an account of this also in the same little booklet. So in the Baltic area, what happened there between Christmas and Epiphany, there were groups of guys changing themselves into wolves. So again, that's the astral body or the energy body. They changed themselves into wolves, and they were fighting evil witches, so in another realm that was. So that was not here in the physical realm. This phenomenon didn't disappear after the arrival of Christianity, because we have an account here from the year 1692. So that's centuries after Christianity came. So yeah, there was this guy named Ties, and in 1692 he tells, I translated here while I'm reading, he tells that he, together with other werewolves from the Baltic area, but also from Russia, by the way, they went to the underworld, he tells. They went to the underworld to fight evil wizards. That's pretty interesting, because corn was stolen by evil wizards, and he and his fellow werewolves were retrieving it. That's a pretty interesting thing. So this sounds like this is a harvest thing. So this sounds like a very shamanic thing. So this guy named Ties in 1692 was some kind of shamanic warrior. Shamanic because he could journey to the underworld, but a warrior because he was actually fighting there. He was fighting there, retrieving the corn to have a good harvest. Yeah, that's a pretty interesting thing. 1692. Yeah. So I told you a bit about the shape-shifting thing. Because a physical body, you don't change a physical body, but you can change your astral body. Now, I don't have experience with this. There is this book, this one is written by, and I know he's a bit controversial sometimes, controversial. This is a book written by Raven Caldera, and it's called Werewolves. And it tells you a lot about shamanic techniques. Because whatever you say about Raven Caldera, whatever you think about him, if I read his books, I think he's a pretty good shaman actually. So, there's a whole chapter in this book about shape-shifting and how to do it. So in the near future, I think I'm going to give it a shot. It's something that I cannot do right now. It's not something that I have learned yet. And there's also something else interesting in this book. At the end of the chapter about shape-shifting, he tells about Angerboda. Angerboda is a giantess or a goddess. I call her a goddess. And she is the ruler of a place called the Ironwood. And the Ironwood is basically the heart of Jotunheim, so where the giants live. So she's a very important one. She is the mother of Hel, the goddess of death. She is the mother of Fenris, the big destructive wolf. She is the mother of the Midgard snake, so that's a snake that circles the world. So snakes are life energy. So she's the mother of the goddess of death, but also of that snake that's about life energy. And the mother of Fenris, which is destruction. So it's a very important person, Angerboda. And there is not much written about her in the sagas or in the Edda, the Edda poetry. So, yeah, what to do? If you want to know more about her, just journey. Now that's exactly what Dirkje and me were doing, and we have made several journeys each to Angerboda, who is living in the Ironwood, and we were comparing our experiences there. And to be quite honest, I'm always quite open about what I tell you about journeying. But about the Ironwood and Angerboda, at the moment that I make this video, I don't feel like telling a whole lot. Sorry guys. Dirkje and me had some deep experiences there. But one thing that I can tell you is that it is very wolf-like, the energy. After all, she's the mother of Fenris, the wolf. Yeah? And also of other wolves. So there's a werewolf-like energy there in the Ironwood. And that is very interesting. The energy is extremely wild, can be extremely wild. Extremely wild is something different than hostile, by the way. I didn't experience hostility there, and Dirkje didn't experience that either. It's a wild energy. So werewolves, yeah, you might think about Wodan or Odin with his Ulf Hednar wolf warriors, but I think about Angerboda when I think about wolves. Maybe later I tell you more about the Ironwood and Angerboda. At the moment I don't. So yeah, this was a little bit about werewolves and folklore around werewolves. And I almost forgot to tell you something funny about them, because in the movies they are ferocious beings that tear you to pieces. Now in this book there is a little funny story about werewolves in the Netherlands, but also Belgium, France and Germany. And what they used to do is they feed on fear. So not on your meat, on fear. So you're walking in the dark, the werewolf jumps on your back if you are afraid and just clings on. Yeah, that sounds a bit lame, but then he does something even more lame. He pisses on you, on your back. Well, he's clinging to your back and then he's pissing on your back. That's a really weird thing. I mean, it's so lame. I'm glad that Hollywood made something more exciting about this. So it's a very strange phenomenon. But doesn't this remind you to the mare? A mare, you know, from the word nightmare, is like an entity, a female entity that sits on your chest in your sleep. It gives you nightmares, fear. So the werewolf that clings on your back and pees over you also feeds on fear. It's like the male equivalent of the mare. Well, it was just a fun story, but it is recorded in history. Now, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you like this. Please share it, because the more people see our videos, well, the better actually, because we just want to spread, you know, the consciousness of people, that they know that we had a pre-Christian civilization and spirituality. Well, forget the word civilization, spirituality. We had a pre-Christian spirituality, and it's very important to learn about this, because it was a whole different way of thinking, a much more healthy way of thinking. And yeah, so please like and subscribe, please share, please put your comments in this comment section below. And yeah, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.